For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls die every day, for whom blood is drunk and flesh eaten. Human blood and human flesh, the stuff of which the Imperium is made. To be a man in such times is to be the one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. This is a tale of those times. The grim darkness of the far future is defined by perpetual war and the ever-present threat of annihilation. Humanity, teetering on the brink of extinction, clings to the Imperium of Man, a vast and brutal empire built upon the worship of the God Emperor of mankind. For 10,000 years, the Emperor has sat upon the golden throne, a decaying husk sustained by his psychic energy and the sacrifice of thousands of psykers per day. Yet amidst the decay and stagnation, whispers of his potential return have begun to surface, fueled by the actions of his resurrected son Robute Guilliman. This video will delve into the complex situation surrounding the Emperor, exploring the signs, the implications, and the heavy burden weighing upon Guilliman as he navigates this precarious era. Greetings all, I'm your guide, the Archivist. Today I will dive into if the Emperor could be stirring from his long entombment on the Golden Throne. Before we begin, please make sure to like the like and subscribe waypoints down below, so that more people can learn from the archives. The Imperium's faith in the Emperor is its bedrock. He is not merely a ruler, but a deity whose psychic might protects humanity from the horrors of the warp. However, the truth is far more complicated. The Emperor's physical form is ravaged, his consciousness fragmented and flickering. Rather than actively guiding the Imperium, he exists as a psychic beacon, a last line of defense against the demonic hordes that constantly seek to breach the veil between realities. For millennia, the High Lords of Terror, a council of powerful individuals, have ruled in his stead, interpreting his will and guiding the Imperium's vast war machine. This system, however, is rife with corruption, stagnation, and the internal power struggles, leaving the Imperium vulnerable to its many enemies. The unexpected resurrection of Robute Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines, by the machinations of the Eldar and the power of the Emperor himself, has thrown the Imperium into unprecedented turmoil. Guilliman, a brilliant strategist and administrator, returned to find his father's empire crippled by inefficiency and beset on all sides by Xenos and heretics. Appointed Lord Commander of the Imperium, he immediately set about enacting sweeping reform, attempting to drag the Imperium out of its stagnant past and into a viable future. Guilliman's return has reignited hope within the Imperium, but it has also raised profound questions about the Emperor's state and his potential return. Is the Emperor truly dying, or is he evolving into something more? Could Guilliman's actions pave the way for his father's physical or spiritual resurrection? Several factors contribute to the growing speculation surrounding the Emperor's return. Firstly, Guilliman's resurrection itself is a sign of the Emperor's lingering power, and perhaps even a desire to directly intervene in the affairs of the Imperium. The Emperor's hand was undeniably involved in Guilliman's miraculous recovery, suggesting a level of agency that many believed he no longer possessed. This event alone provides substantial details, suggesting a change in the status quo. Secondly, the Great Rift, a massive warp storm that tore through the galaxy, has had unforeseen consequences. While it has unleashed unimaginable horrors upon the Imperium, it has also seemingly amplified the Emperor's psychic presence. Reports from across the galaxy speak of increased psychic phenomena, acts of faith manifesting with greater power, and even whispers of the Emperor's voice being heard by the devout. This surge of psychic activity could be interpreted as the Emperor gathering his strength, preparing for a more direct intervention. Thirdly, Guilliman's efforts to reform the Imperium, though pragmatic and necessary, are inadvertently reshaping it in a way that might be more conducive for the Emperor's return. By streamlining the bureaucracy, purging corruption, and emphasizing reason and efficiency, Guilliman is creating a more stable and unified Imperium. This stability could provide the foundation necessary for the Emperor to reassert his authority, either directly or through Guilliman himself. However, the path to the Emperor's return is fraught with peril. The forces of chaos, ever vigilant, would undoubtedly seek to thwart any attempt to restore the Emperor to his former glory. They understand that a fully empowered Emperor would pose an existential threat to their very existence. The demonic legions would likely launch a full-scale assault on Terra, attempting to extinguish the Emperor's psychic flame and plunge the galaxy into eternal darkness. Furthermore, the Imperium itself is divided. While many welcome Guilliman's reforms, others view him with suspicion, fearing that he seeks to usurp the Emperor's authority. The ecclesiarchy, the powerful religious institution that controls the Imperium's faith, is particularly wary of Guilliman's emphasis on reason and his attempts to curb their influence. They fear that his reforms could undermine the very foundation of their power and weaken the Imperium's faith in the Emperor. Any attempt to bring the Emperor back, or even acknowledge the possibility of his return in a tangible way, could trigger a schism within the Imperium, plunging it into devastating civil war. Guilliman himself is acutely aware of these dangers. He understands that the Imperium is a fragile entity, teetering on the brink of collapse. He knows that any misstep could have catastrophic consequences. He is burdened by the weight of his responsibility, forced to make impossible choices in a galaxy where there are no easy answers. He carries a unique perspective of having known the Emperor as a father and a leader, rather than a distant god. He understands the Emperor's vision for humanity, a vision of a galaxy united under reason and progress, free from the tyranny of superstition and the predations of the warp. He also knows the details of the Emperor's failures, the compromises he made that ultimately led to the Horus Heresy and the Imperium's current state. Guilliman's actions are therefore driven by a complex mixture of loyalty, pragmatism, and a deep understanding of the Imperium's strengths and weaknesses. He strives to honor his father's legacy, whilst also recognizing the need for change. He walks a tightrope, balancing the need for reform with the need to maintain the Imperium's faith and stability. Guilliman's meeting with the Emperor in the modern setting is perhaps the most harrowing and telling detail that could be brought to bear on the issue of the Emperor returning. Once revived, travelled to Terra to converse with the Emperor in hopes of receiving guidance from his father. It's important to note that Guilliman is one of the only living beings to ever have experienced the Emperor as a living person, if aloof and godlike even then, and therefore may hold special faith or credence to the will of the Emperor, even more so than others. He knew him not just as a leader, a godlike figure, but also as a man. Upon entering the chamber on Terra, Guilliman became overcome with a sense of dread at facing his father, or whatever his father had now become. He was immediately taken back by the infinite coldness of the being that laid before him, power and suffering beyond understanding. The Emperor was very much alive, but clearly hung in a purgatory-like state of living death. This shook Guilliman to his core, as he had known the Emperor as much like an unstoppable force, now reduced to a shell of the godlike figure he had once followed. According to record, Guilliman was regaled with visions by the Emperor, of things happening and things yet to pass, overlapping sequences, fragments, details and images all burning through Guilliman's mind at once. After their meeting, Guilliman announced he would become the Lord Regent of the Imperium, and it was clear that something profound had passed between the Emperor and his son. The plans for the Primaris and restabilizing the galaxy began immediately, and this very well could all have been orchestrated by the Emperor. In our view, it's clear that the Emperor is very much alive, but clearly still in a state of purgatory-like sleep. A being with immense psychic power, perhaps even greater psychic might than previously, due to the constant absorption of psychic sacrifices every day, but still fragmented. His influence in recent history seems to be returning, with a touch of fate being exuded by him to influence events, perhaps much in the same way as the Chaos Gods might exert their will on the galaxy. The parallels between the Emperor's current state and the Chaos Gods is a heretical but inevitable comparison, especially when you consider the Emperor's origins as the culmination of thousands of shaman-like beings at his true birth. Could the Emperor be amassing psychers into his being to be reborn again as a new god, more powerful than before? If that was the case, he is still very much fragmented and imperfect, only capable of a cohesive thought at rare moments, and existing more as a force of nature than what we would consider a person. Currently, the Emperor's potential return, if it is even possible for him to become anything like his previous embodiment in the galaxy, is being channeled through the use of Guilliman as the head of the Imperium. After their meeting, Guilliman was shaken, but acted quickly to take control and start rebuilding the Imperium more closely to the Emperor's ideals. While the Emperor currently is not showing any signs of a full return, he is clearly stirring, and is exerting his will on the galaxy once more. The question of the Emperor's return, therefore, remains a deeply complex and multifaceted one. There are signs that his power is growing, that he is becoming more active in the affairs of the Imperium, but there are also immense dangers associated with any attempt to bring him back. Ultimately, the fate of the Emperor, and indeed the fate of the Imperium, may rest upon the shoulders of Rabute Guilliman. He is the only one who truly understands the nuances of the situation, the delicate balance between faith and reason, tradition and progress. He must navigate the treacherous currents of imperial politics, fend off the relentless attacks of the Imperium's enemies, and somehow find a way to guide humanity towards a brighter future, all while bearing the weight of his father's legacy and the potential for his return. The coming years will undoubtedly be pivotal in determining the future of the Imperium and the fate of the God Emperor of mankind. Whether he remains a distant deity on the Golden Throne or returns to lead humanity once more, the details of his destiny will be shaped by the actions of his son and the choices made in the grim darkness of the far future. The whispers of divinity echo through the Imperium, promising either salvation or damnation, and only time will tell which path humanity will ultimately tread. And so I have now covered the content for this video, but if there's anything that has been missed, please share them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like the like and subscribe waypoints down below. In the grim dark of the far future, there is only war.